Welcome to part two of my interview with Jeremy Taylor. If you haven't gone and watched part one yet, please go and do that. It's an incredible story of how Jeremy made it all the way from just a kid watching the sport, just like all of us, all the way up into working in NASCAR for several different teams. Part two is getting more into current events in the sport, such as SMT data and its effects on today's racing product, the job market in racing right now, his day-to-day roles at Kaulig Racing, and of course, it wouldn't be the Big Motor Small Blade podcast without talking about Shane Van Gisbergen. So hope you enjoy part two with Jeremy Taylor.
Yeah, I want to know how you got from Roush to wherever you went to wherever to college.
So I went to college.
Gotcha.
So Brad, I was there when Brad came in. I was there for Brad's first meetings. I was there the day after Phoenix, whenever Brad had his first meeting, and by that time I had learned that I was no longer going to be employed at Roush. So laid off once again in my NASCAR career. And which I knew that going in, that's probably going to be the case. Of course, I told him, whenever I interviews, I'm like, oh, y'all are going to keep me, just cocky as shit.
Yeah.
Oops, pardon my French. Just cocky, like, oh yeah, y'all going to keep me. And man, I tell you what, man, getting in the Cup Series it's a whole different world, boy. Mm-hmm. Like to see those cars and Roush Fenway, historic team. I mean, my gosh, the things that they've done. They've built a lot of fast race cars and had a lot of great drivers come through there. And at the time, 2021, end of 21, when I was there, to the end of 21, wasn't the fastest team out there at all.
No.
We had some moments of brilliance, really fast on super speedways. Should have won a couple of those. Mm-hmm. But, excuse me, the equipment that I saw there, the steering boxes, like just little things like that I saw there. I'm like, my God, like that is a nice piece of equipment. Yeah. Just super, super nice. Crap you would never see in an Xfinity car at all. You know what I mean? Like I got some of that stuff there. And whatever you needed, just go to the tool room, ask the guy, I smoked my DeWalt, whatever. It's cool, man. Just go to the parts room. They'll get you a new one. I'm like, what? Yeah. Hey, just go in there and talk to this guy and he'll get you a new one. I'm like, but it was mine. You're like, I don't care. Just go in there and get it. I'm like, all right, sweet. I killed my Mac grinder. Cool. Go to the parts room and get you another one. Just crap like that. I'm just like, my God.
Good Lord.
This is amazing. Like,
welcome to the Cup Series.
Yeah, dude. I was like, I got so pampered. Like, I got so pampered working in a place like that because tools are expensive, dude. And it's an investment. That's what Will Jones told me whenever I worked for him. He's like, dude, go buy you some good air tools. So go buy you some good tools because it's an investment. And I was like, all right, fine. So Walt Sova, the Mac Tools guy in Mooresville that everybody knows, that was my guy. I was like, I spent a whole bunch of money with Walt, and to this day I still have him go and repair stuff, like get stuff repaired for me. But my Mac guy now, Brian, is great though. But it was awesome, man. Like going in there and just whatever you need, they had it. They had multitudes of it. They had extra gauges, they had extra all this stuff in their parts room because they've been established and stuff for such a long time. But anyways, so I was there whenever Brad came in, and I was sitting at a table with 15 other guys that were all getting let go.
Yeah.
And they had, I dubbed us Team Canned because we were all getting canned, right? So, pardon my French again, sorry. I didn't say it though, but we're all sitting there, and while we were sitting there, they started playing music like it was the NBA Finals, and they were introducing a team, and they introduced 20 brand new people that were going to come in and work, and I'm just like, this is messed up. Yeah. And like TJ Majors, spotter for the 6 car, and I was like, oh, this is the new car chief for the 6 car, or whatever. While the car chief before the 6 car was sitting there. You know what I mean? He didn't know he wasn't going to be the 6 car chief. Like there's a couple guys that got up from that moment and just walked out. Just
That's
packed their
insane.
toolbox, they
What?
left. They got up out of that lunch and just left. And I was like, man, that sucks. Like
Yeah.
it just could have been handled a better way. And this is nothing against Brad. This is
Yeah.
nothing against anything that they've done because they've done an amazing job over there.
Yeah.
While I was still there, like they gave me the option to stay until I found a new job, which was great. They didn't have to
Yeah.
do that.
That's
They could have just
yeah.
walked me out and whatever. But um, I can't say enough about how well they've done and what Brad has done in a positive way to that place. But
Yeah.
it left me kind of bitter after
Yeah.
I got let go from there, which I knew I was going to be let go, but um, the way all that was handled was just could have been done better. And a lot of us that were there that were being, ushered out, in a couple months, like we kind of got a little upset with that, but it is what it is. But
Yeah.
while I was still there, they were, doing rearranging the shop. We were uh tearing down all the old surface plates and throwing away a lot of the old templates and stuff that we had
Yeah.
and a lot of the old parts because none of that stuff transferred to the new
Relevant.
car.
Yeah.
So we uh they auctioned off so many cars and
Yeah. I
so
was
much
about to
stuff
say.
like
Yeah.
after I was gone from there. But uh that all happened in like November or so of 2021.
Okay.
And I was sitting on my couch in Charlotte, and I was watching um, the final race in Phoenix, right? And I saw AJ was in the final four, and I'd always been an AJ fan. I always loved his attitude
Yeah.
and the energy he brought. He won on my birthday in 2014. His first win was at Watkins
Nice.
Glen on my birthday in 2014, and I'd always been an AJ fan, like even through his deal with Penske and all that, and whenever he ran the Indy 500, like man, like I've always been a huge AJ fan, and the way they handled themselves after they lost the championship in 21, um, they looked like they were having fun, and
Yeah.
I'd been watching that team for a while.
Mhm.
I'd been to several races with Steven, like where he was driving for whoever, and he would get me a hot pass or whatever,
Yeah.
and I'd go to races, and that team always looked like they were having fun, and
Yeah.
and I was like, man, like that's where I want to be.
And
Like
not to
that's
mention the guy who won the championships going there.
yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
Nobody know the Daniel Hemrick thing
Oh,
that
was it?
wasn't
Okay.
announced yet.
I couldn't
That
remember if
wasn't
it was
announced yet.
announced yet.
And that came later. Everybody knew that Daniel Hemrick was no longer going to be in that car, but
Yeah.
they didn't know where he was going.
Okay.
So, I was there, like I was in Martinsville, the race before, the last race in Phoenix, and I would happen to be sitting like on the pit box for Steven and looking down. I have a picture of AJ and Daniel Hemrick talking to each other after that race, where they were both going to the final four or whatever,
Yeah.
and not knowing what was about
Yeah.
to happen, right? So but anyway, so it was 3 hours or so after that race ended, and I'm like, man, I want to work for that place. Like I want
Yeah.
to work for that team. I love their attitude. I love what they're bringing to the racetrack, and I want to be a part of that because I was so stressed out and put so much pressure on myself at Roush Fenway that I did not enjoy. I did not enjoy it like I should have,
Yeah.
and I felt like I made a lot of mistakes there because of that pressure that I put on myself, and I felt like that that's the reason why I wasn't kept. You know what I mean? So I was like, I want to go to a place where I'm going to have fun and I want to enjoy what I do.
Mhm.
And so I just went on the Kaulig website and I sent an email to their contact. They didn't have an email
Yeah.
address listed. They just had a questions, comments, leave it here. So that's what
Yeah.
I did. I just went on the website and I typed in the comment and said, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is where I work now, this is what's happening. I see you, I want to work for you.
Yeah.
I love what you're doing. I want to be a part of it. That's almost verbatim what I said to him. Monday morning, I got an email from them,
Yeah.
and they said, "Send us your resume." So sent my resume over to them, and then the next day I got a phone call, and they're like, "Come in for an interview." So I went in on the Tuesday for an interview, and uh, I mean, they hired me. A couple days later. It took a couple days. We had to negotiate salary and stuff like that with
Yeah.
Chris, and still hadn't even met Chris yet, and talked to Justin, who's kind of the hiring manager, GM there. Worked with a guy for 2.5 years. Still don't know what his official job title is, but Jay Cox. So that's what we call him. But uh, they offered me the position, and I'm like, dude, absolutely, like I'm there. And I showed up to work my first day wearing Roush Fenway because I didn't have any other hoodies that were clean or good. And I met Chris Rice, and the first thing he said was, "Take that crap off, burn it. I don't want to see it again." I'm like, "All right, man, I got you," because I hadn't got my Kaulig
Yeah.
apparel,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, this will be fine." They were like, "Oh yeah, just yeah, you'll be all right." Walked in and just get yelled at like immediately from
Immediate.
Chris.
Yeah.
Gummit, dude. So they brought me some clothes to wear, and I put on my Kaulig gear. And he literally said, "Burn it. I don't want to see it again." So that weekend, I sent him a video of me throwing at my fire pit. He was on vacation in the Bahamas or something like that with his
Yeah.
wife, and I sent him a video. He's like, "I love it. I love it." I'm like, "All
Yeah.
right, like, we're
Nice.
good." And it was cool. I joined them at the end of November in 2021, and like 2 weeks later was the Kaulig Christmas party that
Mhm.
they asked me if I wanted to go, and I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And basically, the Kaulig Christmas parties are legendary.
All
Uh,
right.
I had heard of them, and I'm like, man, that sounds great. And they were like, yes, come on out, man. Hey, whatever. I don't know any of these people. Like, I literally worked there for two
About to
weeks,
find out.
and I'm about to find out, dude. Yeah. And man, it was so much fun. Like, they don't half ass it at all.
Yeah.
They throw down. They basically rent out an entire hotel, get everybody rooms, which I had to pay for my own because I wasn't hired in time. But
Ah.
show up, and it's open bar, and just a great time. Music playing. They got a dance floor set up, and we're all just there hanging out, getting to know each other. And uh, as the night goes on, I ended up like in the suite, like in Chris's suite, which is I find out later that that's the third party, and not everybody. It's an invite only, and and I was like, all right,
Okay.
I'm here, dude. And um, like I'm in there like taking pictures with the regular season championship trophy. I'm like, yeah, like I had no part of this, but here I am.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm taking a picture with this, like this is cool. And I'm hanging out talking to Daniel Hemrick and AJ Allmendinger, and like, what is my life right now? Like,
Yeah.
what is going on? Because we learned then that Daniel was coming to Kaulig, and um I was, man, he was my pick. Like, he was the guy I wanted to win the Xfinity championship that
Yeah.
year. I'm so stoked for him whenever he won it.
I love
And
Daniel.
then to go and work with him,
Yeah.
was just amazing. And to meet those guys and hang out with them. And like I met AJ like my first day there, and I had met him back in like 2008 just as a
Yeah.
race fan, but being able to be like I used to be like a massive fan of this guy, and now like he's just coming up and
Yeah.
introducing himself, and like I was
Yeah.
like, what is happening right now? It was like I was kind of starstruck for a second, like
Mhm.
working there, but I had to get over it. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is
And
a this is
everything you work for. Yeah.
yeah, this is a winning race team that I just jumped into. And fast forward to now, over here I've got my trophy that I had 3D printed from our Portland win in
Nice.
2022 with AJ.
Yeah.
Have the diecast car sitting next to it, and then
Ooh.
actually have a piece of that car over here in the corner that you can't see.
Nice.
I have the left rear quarter panel off of that car, which was my first win as a spotter at a racetrack.
Really.
Yeah, that was my first win.
Yeah.
I was the spotter in 10, 11, 12 for AJ in Portland that year. That was my first win, as a spotter, and I was like, man, it was, and the way we won that race too was just
Yeah. That was an
insane.
incredible win.
Yeah, because like super fast in practice, and like we knew going into it that it was going to be rainy, or the possibility of rain, because it's the Pacific Northwest and that's what happens.
Yeah.
And we knew it was going to be a thing, and then we had issues during practice and qualifying with the motor. And I don't know if we even made a lap during qualifying because we had issues with the motor, and they ended up changing pretty much everything but the block and heads on that thing.
Yeah.
I mean, any fuel system related, any ignition system related, they changed every bit of it, and we had to start at the back. And if you watch that race, you know that we took the green flag on pit road because we went off the racetrack right in front of me before we ever took the green flag.
Yeah.
Um,
That race is infamous.
that race is infamous
Yeah.
for sure. We were all like, a group of us were chatting in the shop just a few weeks ago. It's probably maybe a couple months ago now, and Chris, somebody asked him about, like, what his favorite win was, and he pointed at the Portland banner. He's like, that win right there. He's like, because of the way we won it is my favorite win that we have.
Yeah.
And he's like, more than the first win that we have, more than anything, like that's my favorite one. And I'm like, heck yeah, like I was there for that. Like I was a part of it, and that was the first time, like I said, that I was just, an accessory spotter. I wasn't primary spotter or anything like that, but that was the first time that I was working on a team at the racetrack and won.
Yeah.
And like I cried. Like I cried. I called my parents on the phone, just I was like, what the heck, man? Like, just all the crap that I've been through, like all the times being laid off, just all the mess and stress and sacrifice and all the crap that I went through when trying to get a job out here and then finally doing it and trying and failing so many times to be on a team that and to be a part of it on that car whenever we won. Like, man, like all that crap just hit me, especially, with, like I said, the way we won it. We so Chris was sitting on the box for AJ. I gotta tell this story real quick.
Of course.
I've been talking an hour and a half anyway. Why not? So I'm down 10, 11, 12, the last three corners, right?
The most important corner.
Down the long back straightaway, left-hander, right-hander, turn 12, down the start straight. So I'm watching all that, right? And Chris is calling the starts for AJ, because this was before they moved the starting box all the way down into the middle of turn 12. And so I can hear Chris, saying, oh, they're coming to green, whatever. And then I can hear AJ on the radio saying, like, nobody will freaking pass me. Like he's using other language. But what happened was we had to go to the back of the field. We had to start at the very back because all the motor changes and stuff that we did, right? And there was a whole slew of cars that did not want to get past AJ. They were like, this guy is going to be coming, so like we don't want to be in his way. At least that's what I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Because I literally hear Chris calling green, and there's only 6 rows of cars that have went past me. And no sooner as I almost keyed up on channel 12 or channel 2 saying, I haven't seen him yet, here he comes, like hauling down the back straightaway. And my man missed the corner right off in the grass right in front of me. And I'm just like, oh God, like crap. Like, this is how this day is going to go.
Yeah.
And he's losing his mind because, like I said, he was supposed to drop to the back, but nobody would get past him. Like Noah Gragson and some other guys were behind him. Like nobody would pass him. And so they just started the race. Like, here we go. And so immediately, he pulled down pit road so they could get all the grass and all the crap out of the grill. Yeah. And we ended up going off the racetrack 2 or 3 more times over the next couple laps. And like, you could just hear AJ on the radio, just like, I'm so sorry, guys. Like, he was losing it. He was coming apart. Like, and because he was so disappointed in himself. That's the thing. Like, people that listen to AJ on the radio and they want to talk crap about him, but it's like, listen, like, you have no clue how passionate that guy is about wanting to win for us. Yeah. He wants us to win. He wants the whole team to win because he is bought in to what we have and what we try to do. And if you're working at Kaulig, you have to be on that. Like, you have to be bought in. All of us are. And if one team wins, whether it's Cup or Xfinity, we all freaking win.
Yeah.
We had our Portland win for SVG today. Every single Cup employee was there. Every single Xfinity employee was there. Like if one team wins, we all win, and we're all bought in on that.
Yeah.
And he is so hard on himself. And if he makes a mistake, he thinks he is the weak link because that's how badly he wants us to win,
Yeah.
how badly he wants him to win. And we want him to win, you know? So basically it comes over channel 2. It's like, just let him go. Just let him
Yeah.
do AJ things. And so it just started happening. Like he just started just knocking out laps, and it was in the rain, and it was a mess, dude. Like I
Yeah.
was drenched. You know, I had like a rain suit that I had bought at Dick's Sporting Goods down the road the night before, you know, and you know, next thing you know, it's getting stage 1, stage 2, and I can hear the other spotters starting to chat up a little bit more. Casey LaJoy, you know, Corey's brother he's a phenomenal videographer and photographer for our team. So a lot of the videos and stuff that you see on our website, he does a lot of that.
Gotcha.
Great dude, love him to death. And then Lenny Chandler, which if anybody's listened to DBC, they've heard them talk about Lenny. Lenny's our shop foreman over both Xfinity and Cup shop. He was primary spotter for AJ. And you know, you hear those guys start to get a little bit more chatty on the radio, and I'm like, all right, cool, I can start talking a little bit.
Yeah.
They're like, just don't say anything, you know, like
Yeah.
don't say anything.
Love-
And I talked to AJ at the shop, you know, earlier that week. He's like, man, if they're within 2 or 3 cars, he's like, I know that they're there. He's like, you don't really have to say anything. I'm like, all right, you know, whatever, I trust you, because I don't need to tell AJ Allmendinger anything when it comes to road course racing. So,
Yeah.
you know, out there we get a little bit more chatty, things start happening, and it starts to, my area starts to get dry. Like, I mean, pretty much the whole area is dry. So I queued up channel 2, and I told Bruce Schlicker, the crew chief on the 16, he's a 97 crew chief now.
Yeah.
I said, hey man, like, just throwing this out there, like, this whole area is dry over here, 10, 11, 12, 100% dry.
Yeah.
And 30 seconds later, he comes over the radio and he said, AJ, what do you think about going to slicks here?
Yeah.
And AJ's like, ah, you know, he's like, man, it's going to be so hard to hang on in the wet spots, but he's like, screw it, let's do it, you know.
Yeah.
So we threw on slicks. We were the first car to do it. And after we went back out on slicks, people were like, holy crap, because we were 7, 8 seconds faster than everybody else. It started the influx of everybody doing it, but we had already got ahead of everybody. We were ahead of the curve on it. And that's whenever we really started to make headway. And that was, you know, that was into stage 2 or whatever. And then Ty Gibbs got cleared out by a lap car in turn 1. And that kind of helped us out. Yeah, I think it was Jesse Awuji. Yeah.
Yep.
And so he got cleared out for there. And I saw Jesse Awuji in Portland a couple weeks ago. So great dude, man. I love that guy.
He is.
But such a great dude. But he cleaned out the 54 there in turn 1. And that kind of opened up a little bit of a window for us. And then, you know, coming down to it, the AJ still had to fight him for it. You know, man, Ty Gibbs is so good on road courses, so good. Yeah. And a lot of that probably had to do with him following AJ around quite a bit and watching SMT and doing whatever, which that's a whole other conversation. But we were able to pull that win off. And my gosh, man, you're talking, I mean, just the best to ever do it. You know what I mean? Like that guy, the way we won that race was just absolutely incredible, man. Like it was phenomenal. So
that's one of those deals. It's like, and it's kind of going back to like when, you know, people talk about AJ and, you know, want to critique him on how he handles himself on the radio. If you're going to have those highest of highs when you get out of the car, you're going to have those lows to lows. It's balanced
racing.
And,
and the people that say that crap are the people that have no freaking clue.
Exactly.
No freaking clue. And I was like, I worked with a guy at Roush that I told him where I was going, who I was going to be working with. And he was like, dude, he's like, AJ, he's like, man, that guy's tough on the radio. And I'm like, it's whatever. I get it. He's passionate. I understand. See, I see that.
Do you want somebody that isn't passionate or doesn't show that they're passionate about it?
Absolutely.
No, you don't want that.
I don't want to work with that person. At all. Like, no, like I do not want to work like Kyle Busch. Like people would talk about Kyle Busch all the time, but it's like, man, that guy, he he like hates losing more than he loves to win.
Yeah.
And that guy's done a lot of winning. I'm not sure if you've heard
Right.
of him, but that guy is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as like Kyle Larson, just raw talent,
Yeah.
best driver out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm one of the top 5 best drivers in the world as far as just raw
We
talent,
say
raw
on the
speed.
show all the time, Kyle Larson's the greatest driver in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just giving him some room. Like
Yeah.
I think that, but I'm just saying there's probably some drivers I've never heard of, never seen
Yeah.
that are just as good or better, whatever. But I'm
Shane
saying
Van
top
Gisbergen a
5.
year ago to all of us.
Yeah, exactly. So top 5 greatest driver out there, right? Kyle Busch, in my opinion, is one of those top 5 guys because when it comes to setting up a car,
Mhm.
driving that car, knowing what he's feeling in that car, and being able to respond and tell people what to do and how to do it, he is probably the best one out there currently at
Yeah.
doing that. Mark Martin is another guy that was just insane at knowing what his car is doing and this and that. But Kyle Busch, man, like whenever he drove for us last year, like he was, tearing our setups apart. He's like,
Yeah.
why are you running this? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, this is my setup for Phoenix. Like coming in and doing that because that guy is so freaking smart.
Yeah.
Like as far as like all around driver, knowing the equipment that he's driving, being able to drive that equipment to the top of its performance, Kyle Busch is. I'd
That guy.
argue that he's just as good or better than Larson because Larson will tell you he's like, I can't tell you if it's I'll tell you if it's loose or tight. He's like, other
Yeah.
than that, I can't tell you squat about it, but I'm going to drive it as fast as I can
I
drive it.
mean, we heard it last week or this past when he won Sonoma. It's like, I don't know what Cliff was doing, but I trust him. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And the guy is going to drive it to the peak of his ability.
Yeah.
And that's what makes him just such an insane talent, just so raw, just raw speed. Just an incredible
Yeah.
driver. And we've got to win a race with him at college.
Yeah.
So,
I was there. I was
stoked about that one. Yeah. I wish I
awesome
was
win.
there. Where was I? Oh, I was in Tennessee. I was in Tennessee for that one. My nephew, high school graduation party is where I was at. So I was watching him on my phone,
Yeah.
and like losing my mind, like, oh my God, like we just won with Larson. Like that was cool.
Yeah.
mean-
Man, where was I about to go with this?
I don't know, man. We got so many places we could go.
Absolutely. We'll go ahead. We'll get into the actual nitty gritty of this. All right.
Sure. Let's do it.
So, would you rather? Actually, we'll go ahead and start with this. So it ties in perfectly because your whole story of how you got to Kaulig and
Yeah.
just how you got into racing. It is the epitome of how a career in racing a lot of times goes for people.
Sure.
And there's a lot of people right now that just found out they're losing their job at Stewart Haas Racing a couple
Sure.
weeks ago. And I want to know because I listened to DBC a couple weeks ago with Chris Rice, obviously.
Mhm.
Very familiar with him, huh?
Yeah, I've met him. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. He said he's like, just as an example of what the job market's like for racing, he said
Sure.
he's like, we'll take anybody and train them.
Absolutely.
What is it like? Go more in depth about that and like how these guys are gonna find jobs and where they're gonna go and what the job market's like for
So
someone that has experience versus no experience at all, like
Absolutely.
right now.
So I had this conversation earlier with a guy that I work with, where we have hired guys, and actually Chris Mamba Smith put out a video a few weeks ago where he was highlighting Kaulig, and Chris talked about this kid. He called him Kimono because he hired him off the cook line at Kimono Japanese Steakhouse in Welcome, North Carolina.
What?
He met this kid there and offered him a job because he liked the kid, whatever.
Yep.
And that kid is now tire specialist on AJ's Xfinity car full time. Like that's
Wow.
what that kid does now. But he came to our team last year and started working in teardown in the Cup cars because here's the thing, man. Like Xfinity cars and Truck Series are 75 years of evolution, right?
Mhm.
In the NASCAR world, these Cup cars are brand new animals to
Yeah.
everybody that goes to work on them, right? So if you have somebody that's mechanically inclined, why not throw them on a cup car? Because they're just
Yeah.
as fresh with this car as anybody else.
Mhm.
As long as they're mechanically inclined, dude, they you know, they know just as much about it as maybe
Yeah.
somebody else might. So that's the first place you go and throw somebody. Do throw them in tear down. Like that's, you know, somebody wants to be a mechanic. That's the first thing you do is you go and you throw them in tear down. So that way they know how it comes apart. If they know how
Mhm.
it comes apart, they can throw it back together, right?
Yeah.
Especially whenever it's cleaned up and shined up and ready to go, you know, and it's been serviced and goes back in. And if you're tearing a car down, you can see if a part is failing or if a part is cracked or if a part is this or that. Like you can if you train somebody to look for those things, they can see that when it's going back together,
Yeah.
right? Which it should never get to that point. But
But yeah.
this person seeing this thing come apart, they know what it needs to look like whenever it goes back together because that person's tearing it down, they're washing it, they're inspecting it, they're doing all these things. And why not? I mean, throw them
Yeah.
in there. Like let's go for it, you know? And there's so many people that are working on our shop floor in the cup shop that's where they started. They started in a tear down. Of course,
Yeah.
you know, some of those guys were very, you know, they have their own race cars and they run dirt
Mhm.
cars or this and that. But you know, we have, you know, several guys like we're all about getting interns in and that are going to school for engineering or this or that and have guys come in and learn and we stick them in tear down and we have them, you know, learning how these cars come apart because you know we want people, we need people that want to do it, right? So to get to your question about the job market out
Yeah.
there for guys at Stewart Haas Cup teams that are losing their jobs,
Yeah.
I say I'll say it like this: there are 4 charters that are going somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, those 4 charters mean that a car has to be presented for NASCAR to inspect to
Yes.
go on the racetrack. Those 4 charters need people to work on those 4 cars.
Yeah.
There's 4 teams worth of people down there that are going to be losing their job. They have somewhere to go,
Yeah.
whoever buys those charters, right? So there's rumors out there that Front Row is going to be taking over the SHR building, and they're going to buy one of those charters. 23XI wants a charter. RCR may want another charter. Dell Jr. Always talks about wanting a charter. There's so
Trackhouse.
the Trackhouse,
Yeah.
yeah, another one, yeah, and they already have a third charter that
Yeah.
they are leasing from Spire, I believe, right? Which
Yeah.
Zane Smith is a
Yeah.
Trackhouse driver driving over there, right? So um, that, like I said, there's 4 charters available that they're going to be selling. They're being sold.
Yeah.
So that's 4 charters worth of employees that are ready to be hired because they're all looking for jobs. So there's more to the SHR story that I can't say, but
Yeah.
I
Of
know to
course.
be true.
Yeah.
That's coming, which it deals with the Xfinity side.
Mhm.
But Cup Series team, no more. Okay,
Yeah.
I can't speak to anything else of that.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, there's 4 Cup teams worth of people that need jobs. And like I said, if those charters are going somewhere, who the heck are you going to hire? Probably those guys right there. Those are the
Yeah.
first people on your list. But when it comes to job market, okay, look at it this way. A lot of these people that are in the sport currently, right, are guys that have been in the sport their entire life.
Yeah.
And a lot of these changes that are coming about with the next gen car and this charter agreement and this stuff like that, these guys are almost retirement age, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of guys that are like, you know what? I'm out.
Yeah.
Like I'm done doing this, right? So honestly, the job market in NASCAR currently is probably better than it's been in a long time. I'm not saying
Mhm.
ever been, but has been in a
Yeah.
long time because if you are mechanically inclined and you want to do this stuff, come and try out, put in a resume. Like,
Yeah.
but the thing is, you need to be here. If you
Yeah.
want to work in racing, you need to be in North Carolina. There's a couple random teams that are, like a truck series team out in Tennessee, the 25 truck,
Yeah.
Rackley, I forget the
Rackley
name of the
War.
team.
Yeah.
Ty Dillon drives for them.
Yeah.
They're out middle Tennessee. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a team there, but and Furniture Row made it work in Denver, North Carolina,
Somehow.
or Denver, Colorado.
Yeah.
They made it work out there and they won a championship out there. But like, if you want to do it, man, within 70-mile radius of Charlotte, North Carolina, this is where you need to be.
Yep.
Okay. And wherever you work, 15 minutes to an hour commute. Okay. There's a plethora of teams that you can go
Yeah.
work for. And there's a lot of new teams that are coming in. Like it's crazy, like the market for people that are
Yeah.
wanting to invest in racing now because the product on a racetrack, whether people want to admit it or not, is better than it has been in a long time because the competition is so tight. I mean, the viewership and stuff this year has been incredible.
Yeah.
It's hitting so many boxes, checking so many boxes. Um, like, I mean, my gosh, man, like we need people at Kaulig.
Yeah.
Like if you have racing experience, whatever, like we need people. Like, my goodness, like whenever road crew and stuff leaves Kaulig, man, we only have a handful of people back at the
Yeah.
shop that are still working there. We are the biggest small team out there. Like, I mean, yeah, we have 5 teams, 2 cup teams and 3 Xfinity teams, a part-time team this weekend at Xfinity. So we have 4
Yeah.
Xfinity cars going with Daniel Dye in the 10 to Iowa this weekend. And we have a part-time cup car, the 13 that we run
Yeah.
every once in a while, right? So we have, man, that's 7 teams worth of people, which
Yeah.
we interchange, and like I'll go and work on the 13 cup car. Like I went to Dakota and worked on the 13 cup car, and then I went and spotted for the 31. So if you have any sort of racing experience, my goodness, come and see us. Like, come and put in
Yeah.
a because, like, we need warm bodies. Like, we need it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the opportunities, I think, for people in the job market in racing is there. Now, what sucks is people like me that are fabricators, right? Like I love body fabrication. I love aero. That stuff is almost non-existent now because of the composite bodies and stuff that are coming in. But aero-minded people are still needed. But you're talking aerodynamics engineers and stuff like that. The fabricators now are kind of few and far between. I was hired as a metal fabricator to build carts and stuff there at the team. So toolboxes, like a lot of the infrastructure stuff that we use in the race shop, body carts, body panel carts, or transaxle carts, or different things like that. That's what I was hired for. So it's rare that I do anything on like the body wise of the cars. I've made some done some windows, like put latches in windows, done little things like that. But fabrication's pretty much all gone now, unless you want to work for a truck team, which if we started the truck team, I'd be the first guy to apply because I'd love to be hanging bodies again. I'd love to do that because that stuff is so interesting to me. But, I started doing like our aero pans, splitter pans and stuff that's mounted up under the car. I started doing those last summer, and that's what I do now. As far as working on cars and such. But I know the cars pretty well. So if they need me to do anything mechanic wise, I can do it. And I'm happy to oblige it, but man, like I said, we freaking need people. We need people, and I would imagine a lot of teams are the same way.
Yeah. That's what I was about to ask.
Because there has been such an ongoing exodus of people that have been in the sport for so long, and they don't like the changes or whatever it is, and they're kind of heading out the door. So there's room for you here, and we want you here because if we don't have people to put the product on the racetrack, there's no product for people to see, and the people want the product, right? So
how many employees do y'all have at Kaulig? Rough.
Well, we've actually lost a few people over the winter. We lost a few people, so I say we're somewhere between 120, 130, something like that, and that's 5 cars.
5 cars, yeah.
That's 3
cars.
Xfinity cars and 2 Cup cars, and we have about 120 people.
Yeah,
something like that.
What is do you have a take on the charter deal and how they want to reduce the number of cars a team can have to 3 as far as Cup? Is that the rumor that's going around?
Yeah, I mean that's murky. I
That wouldn't
don't
affect
have
y'all, I guess.
it doesn't, not at the moment. I
Yeah.
mean, who knows what I mean, I kinda do a little bit of what Matt Collig's ultimate goal is.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think we're in the charter market right now. We're not selling charters. There's
Yeah.
rumors going that we're selling charters and this and that. We're not doing that at
Yeah.
all. We are not doing that. We intend to be here for a long time, and I want to be there as long as we are. I
Yeah.
love this team. I love what we're doing. Um, and but as far as that goes, man, uh, they told Jack Roush several years ago, whenever he had
Long
5
yeah.
teams, like, "Listen, you got a couple years, but you need to get rid of one of these
Mhm.
teams." Are they going to do the same thing with Hendrick? Are they going to do the same thing with Gibbs, where these guys have 4 teams? Are they going to make them get rid of a team?
Yeah.
Or are they going to grandfather it in? Because you're kind of hurting teams that do want to expand into 4 teams.
Yeah.
You have an extra team's worth of minds, brains, and drivers to supply your team with data, right?
Yeah.
So though the Gibbs and the Hendricks will have an unfair advantage on some of those guys.
Yeah.
Do you see it as an unfair advantage, or do you just see it as how the sport works?
Yeah.
It's all a matter of perspective and how you see it. So those are very murky waters that I know enough to be dangerous, and I don't want to get into any of that
For
stuff.
sure.
Like
For
that's none of
sure.
my
Yeah.
that's
And I
above
remember
my it's above my pay grade,
I remember Denny saying, like, a long time ago that 3 cars is one thing, but having a 4th car, it's like having a whole another organization.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the crappy thing is like you do get that 4th car curse. It happens. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's always one car at those 4 car teams that doesn't run as well as the other 3.
Yeah.
So, w what's the reasoning behind that? Is that a test team? Are they actually trying to win, or
Yeah.
are they actually testing for all the other teams? Like, and if they do pull
Yeah.
off a win every once in a while, hey, all right,
Yeah.
what is the true? Because obviously you're going to say that, oh, we want all 4 of our teams to win. We want to finish top 4 every weekend. That's what we
Yeah.
want to do. But realistically, you just can't do that, right? So it's always been kind of funny to me how one team in the 4 car team is always
Yeah.
underperformed, right? So is that by design, or is that just how it shakes out? So
Yeah. That's an interesting perspective. I've never really thought of it like that. It would make sense though. It
it
would
does.
really
It
make a
makes
lot of
sense to me.
sense.
Like, that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Um, because exactly what you're saying, what Denny said, what you're saying, it's 100% true. Like, that's like having, a whole R&D team, or it's like having, you have that 4th team worth of knowledge, worth of people, worth of perspective, worth of brains, like worth of whatever. Like, you have that 4th car worth of that there. So why not go
Yeah.
down that road with it? You
Mhm.
know, um, sure, yeah, you want to win races with every team, but realistically, if it was me doing it, that's what I'd have my 4th team doing. So
Yeah.
maybe that's a rhyme and reason too why 4 car teams don't always the 4th car doesn't always perform.
It
But
would
I don't know.
yeah.
That's just me spitting an idea
Yeah.
out
I mean,
that I
it
hold
would make
in
sense
here.
too. Yeah, I mean, it would make sense too. Like, do you want to spread your resources through 4 cars, or do you want to put everything into 3 that is going to win a lot more often?
Yeah. Because let me tell
So,
you, like, this is one thing that drives me absolutely nuts about race fans, which I can't say much because I'm one of the biggest race fans out there.
yeah.
I always tell people I'm one paycheck away from being a race fan myself. So and maybe after somebody sees this podcast, who knows? But
Oh, I hope
I
not.
hope not. But like I said, I'm always one. I tell that to everybody all the time. I'm
Yeah.
always one paycheck away from being a race fan myself.
Yeah.
So I'm no better than any other race fan. But if there's one thing I wish knowledge wise I could impart on every race fan out there, is the judgmental side of people that says if you finish 32nd in a cup race, you suck and you don't need to be there.
Yeah.
Racing in Xfinity Cup trucks, ARCA even, is really hard.
Yeah.
It is so stinking hard. People have no clue how hard it is to win in the Cup and Xfinity Series. Yeah, in the Xfinity Series, a little bit of money could help you,
Mhm.
could get you a good seat because it's kind of geared that way. And the Cup Series has been for such a long time, but they're kind of going back to a talent over
Yeah.
everything, results over everything feel with the Cup Series now, which is great, which is the way
Yeah.
it needs to be. But the talent level in the Cup Series is astronomically huge.
Yeah.
Okay, like I hate to say this because this could get me in trouble. I love Daniel Hemrick. He is a great person. He's a phenomenal race car driver, but I am tired of people bashing him online saying that he sucks. That's not the case at all.
Yeah.
He won a championship in 2021, won one race, and they're like, "Oh, he just won that one race and it got him a championship." Dude, he got in that
Yeah.
one race on points.
Yeah.
He got in the he was the 4th guy
Yeah.
in the cut in
Mind you, that was
21
the
on
third time he had
points.
done that.
Yeah, on points. You know how
Yeah.
hard that is to do?
Yeah.
Like, that's ridiculously hard, even in a Gibbs car. And
Yeah.
dude, he put it to Austin Cindric, who was the toughest guy in the series for 2 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the toughest guy in that series for 2 years.
Yeah.
You can't say anything about that guy. Like, he is a phenomenal driver.
Mhm.
Phenomenal. But it's like I said earlier on here, racing the Cup Series is so stinking hard, okay, that the racing and the competition is so close that if you are 2/10 off, you are 20th.
Yeah.
If you're 3/10 off, you are last. Like, when it comes to practice and qualifying, like, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
Like, that's how hard it is. And that's that separation, like, if you're on iRacing or something, this is a stupid example, but if you're on iRacing, okay, and you're a couple tenths off, all right, you can pick up a tenth in this corner, a tenth in this corner. You can find a way to do that. Whenever you're racing in the Cup Series, like for real,
Yeah.
to try to find a half a tenth in this corner, a half a tenth in this corner, that is so freaking hard
Yeah.
because of all these guys are doing the sim work. They're doing the SMT. They're looking at SMT during practice. They're comparing themselves to one another. That in my opinion, that's where a lot of people have caught up to what AJ does on road courses. Like
Yeah.
last year, like I showed you SMT at our fan day
Yeah.
last year at
Yeah.
Kaulig. I showed you the differences between like William Byron and AJ, like what they were doing. Like now, there's no secrets anymore.
Mhm.
Like the brain power, the intrinsic value of what these experienced road course drivers or experienced drivers have in their mind, you can visually quantify that now on a screen, and you can see what these guys are doing if you know how to read SMT. And all
Yeah.
these guys study that stuff. You can see them locked in, headphones on during practice, doing 2 separate sessions, right? So if you're at A session, you can watch all those guys in B, or if you're in B, you can watch all those guys in A, right?
Yeah.
So you're on the headset with the guys back at the shop, like in the war rooms, the engineers and stuff. They're saying this and that, telling you, oh, he's doing this here, he's doing this here, he's doing this here. Like all of the secrets and all those intrinsic things that these drivers have is available for you to see now.
Yeah.
So that leads me to the point of do away with SMT or make it to where it's only available after the race. Or it's only available at the race shop, like after the weekend. Like oh my gosh, I think we had this conversation not long
Yeah.
ago.
And let's talk about before we get in this, because this is one of the big things I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, we get off in the weeds quite a bit.
So. What does SMT stand for? First of all,
that's a great question. I have no clue.
All right, cool. All right, glad to know. Glad to know no one knows. I bet a couple different people that no one knows.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is what's that thing is like, I don't know what it's called. I just know the sound it makes when I pull the trigger, like that question's like,
yeah.
I don't know what it is. I just know what it is when I look at it. You know what I mean? I don't know what the letters mean. I just know what it is when I see it. So,
explain to some people who don't know what exactly SMT is tracking. What does it show?
So throttle positioning, how much, a percentage of throttle, percentage of turn, percentage of brake, percentage of everything. All of the instruments at a driver's control, shifter, throttle, brake, clutch, not so much steering input, all of these things, like how many RPMs the motor's turning, all of these things are all there for you to see in a graph,
Mhm.
essentially. So if you're turning right, you'll see it. If you're turning left, you'll see it. Like it's basically a heartbeat, like or on
Yeah.
a EKG. It's basically what you're looking at. Same kind of deal. Like if you're full throttle, the line's going to go up. If you're off the throttle, it's going to come back down.
Mhm.
So you can get down in there and you can break down a lap around a racetrack. Like I showed you last year at our
Yeah.
fan day that we had. I had because we had just won the Roval right with
Yeah.
AJ, which that's my checkered flag right there.
Yep.
Yeah, woo, go team. We so we had that pulled up on the screen, and I was watching. I had basically William Byron who finished second compared to AJ, and you could see differences in how they turn into a corner or how they're braking and how much braking they're using, what their shift points are, all of these little things. It basically removes any secrets when it comes to this whole driving thing
Yeah.
and the technique that these guys use while they're driving. Um, which, that's great. That's all well and good. But the problem with that is once you see another driver's secrets, before you had to just go follow them.
Yeah.
You had to get out on the racetrack and you had to follow him around the racetrack and see where he's doing this, see where he's doing that. And a lot of times those guys are wise to that. And they're like, no, you go on
Yeah.
by. You're not,
Absolutely.
you're
Yeah.
not getting my secrets. Like this is like if you wanted those secrets, you had to go up and ask them.
Like,
And it was up
man.
to them how much they tell you or whether they told you anything.
Yeah.
Now that is out the window.
Mhm.
You can see everything that another driver's doing. And whether that's good or bad, it's great for a lot of people, and they use it like it's the Bible. They get in there and
Yeah.
it's because it makes them a better driver, or they can see what different people are doing. But um, from a fan's perspective, me putting that hat on, it drives me and actually, even somebody that works in the sport, like it drives me nuts because it kind of removes that sixth sense
Mhm.
that makes
Yeah.
that X factor that makes drivers good. What makes AJ so dang good on road courses,
Yeah.
or what makes SVG so dang good on road courses, or makes any of these guys good. Now that knowledge, which was theirs
Mhm.
through sacrifice and work and years and years and years of seat time, those guys trained so hard to be that good and get that good.
Yeah.
Now all you have to do is look at a graph on a screen and it's like, oh, I can pick apart his secrets. I can do that.
Yeah. And
You know,
I would imagine
that drives me nuts.
that's especially frustrating for a team like Kaulig who, week in and week out, maybe not doesn't have the opportunity that a Hendrick has to win. But when you go to a road course with AJ Allmendinger, you
Mhm.
inherently know that you're going to show up with a driver that can damn near outrun anybody out
Mhm.
there. And it's gotta be frustrating to go there and just know that, oh, everything AJ's doing, uh, Alex Bowen, he's gonna nail it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So there was uh there was a moment. I've sat down with Lenny uh, a few times after road courses. I think actually after Sonoma last year, um, we sat there and watched SMT a little bit, watching AJ's lap, and you know him saying like, "My God, it sucks to see how much faster we are than those guys, and we had other things that kept us from winning."
Yeah.
Because at Sonoma last year, AJ had the flu or he was sick,
Yeah.
and our steering rack was spinning inside of its mount.
Okay, I remember that,
Like we
yeah.
had an issue where the it was sliding. Like so whenever he would turn, it was kind
Yeah.
of doing its own thing. Like we had an
Mhm.
issue there. Either that was this past year or the year before. Might have been 2 years ago. Either way, regardless, like I don't know when this happened, but it's happened a few times where Lenny and I like we just be sitting there watching SMT and like, man, gummit, like it sucks to see how much better he is than X driver that we were
Yeah.
competing against that weekend, and to not come out on top. But that's where the team aspect of it comes in. Like, yeah, whenever we went out there and we won the Roval last year,
Mhm.
AJ put a hurt on those dudes, but
Yeah.
he had to have a car that wasn't going to fall apart either.
Mhm.
So we had to build him a car that was freaking solid. And what a lot of people don't realize is Justin Haley learned a lot of road course stuff from
Oh,
AJ.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like back the Chicago street course last year,
Yeah.
if it wasn't for SVG being there, like
He was gonna win. Yeah.
Justin Haley won that race. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And there's at Sonoma last year again. I want to say that Justin Haley set the fastest lap of the race
He had a
at
great
that
race
race.
this past
Like
weekend.
this past weekend, he was super fast. Like people don't understand how good Jay Haley is. Like
Oh
that
god.
kid is
Yeah. Oh, we
phenomenal.
sing his praises all the
Oh
time
my
because he's
gosh,
so
yeah.
good.
He is good, and he was great in our cars, and he's doing great now. Um, like, but that's working with AJ,
Mhm.
right? So you can see his SMT, and you're also a teammate with him. Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain is a phenomenal road course racer because of AJ
Yep.
Allmendinger.
Mhm.
So like you look at those things, and that's things that he has taught them behind closed doors in a
Yeah.
sim session or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't know all the details of that,
But
but
they had
that's
the
stuff that
privilege of being his teammate and like
exactly. And then, then Ross Chastain goes and uses it against him, and
yeah.
Chastain's us into the corner with a 48. And you know how
Yeah.
long it took
That
me
was
to sip from a watermelon Celsius after that? My gosh, so mad.
I'm still a little bit ticked about
Yeah,
that
I'm
one.
still ticked off about that
Yeah.
one, yeah, man, it's crazy, like how you can just it's a
Yeah.
mess, man.
And that's gotta make it even more impressive, and I gotta bring this up because of
Sure.
what show and what channel we're on. That's gotta make it even more impressive what Shane Van Gisbergen did at Chicago, because
Absolutely.
everybody could see his stuff, whether or
Mhm.
not someone was smart enough to look at the random New Zealander that Justin Marks just brought in
Right.
and look at his SMT data, whether anybody was smart enough to do that or not is who knows. But it it will never happen. That probably will never happen again because every cup guy in the field looked
No.
at that and there's like, those guys from supercars can drive. So this
That was
Will
a
Brown, Cam Waters that come in, everybody's going to look at their data and be like, you know what? Maybe we're going to take something from that
sure.
and pay attention now.
So here's the thing you got to think about SVG. Okay. And I'm not calling him SVG. I know his name is Shane Van Gisbergen. I know that. But it's easier to say SVG.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about him. And people want to compare him to Marcus Ambrose. I have no clue what Marcus Ambrose's record was in V8 supercars. No sinking clue.
Yeah.
But like Will Brown and Cam Waters and these other guys coming in, I've seen their stats. Like they've won a handful of races, 10,
Yeah.
8, 10, 12 races, whatever it is.
Will Brown's leading the points right now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Points leader. So he's doing something good.
Yeah.
Shane Van Gisbergen won 83 races,
Yep.
3 championships. Like the guy is phenomenally good. And what happened with that car and that racetrack and the conditions of that racetrack was a perfect storm
Yes.
for
Of
him
course.
to come out on top. There was no denying him with the experience that he has with the cars he's driven and how similar the current generation cup car is with things he has driven in the past as far as V8 supercars go. For people that don't know, a company called X-Track makes the transaxles that go in all of the cup cars.
Okay.
Same company makes transaxles that go into V8 supercars. They go into rallycross cars, rally cars, stuff like that. It's a very, very similar system that the cup cars have that those vehicles have. Very, very similar system, or similar transaxle.
Yeah.
Just a few modifications and they threw it in the cup car and here we are.
Yeah.
So he knows how that thing works. His clutch technique that he uses, okay, which is something that NASCAR drivers do not do anymore.
No.
NASCAR drivers haven't used clutch since Ricky Rudd, pretty much, when it
Yeah.
comes to road courses, shifting and stuff like that. They don't use a clutch at all. So downshifting, rev matching, whatever, like just flipping the throttle, shifting down, you're fine. he has a technique with his feet that they highlighted last year that he does where basically he steps on the clutch to unspool the drive line and it allows it to roll smoother, which basically helps him under braking. It helps him with these Xfinity cars because it's going to give him less opportunity to wheel hop. So little things like that that he's learned and adapted to because of the driveline system that they had in V8 Supercar allowed him to just excel that way. And maybe
Yeah.
that's the only thing holding him back, or maybe that's the only thing that's setting him apart from AJ or whatever. But I can't get into that. Like that's I don't know. I've never, I drove a road course one time in my life, and that was for 2 laps, and that was 15 years ago at VIR in a Mazda Miata. So whatever. We I love road course races though, like that. I've always been a huge road course fan. Watkins Glen has always fallen right around my birthday in August, so I've always loved that. And so Watkins Glen will always be my favorite road course. But I don't know all the ins and outs of that, and only those guys can speak to that. But like I said, that race last year was just a perfect storm, literally, because of the rain and everything that where he's raced on street courses like that, really tight, no room for error. Which let's just say it, like NASCAR guys have been kind of pampered when it comes to runoff areas and stuff because
Watkins
we are
Glen
so
is Watkins Glen, the
Watkins Glen, yeah,
the
absolutely.
example for this.
We are so quick to pave a runoff zone at a road course. We're so quick to do it, and these guys will run out there. There is no TJ says it all the time on DBC is like there is no penalty for mistakes.
Yeah, we say it on here
that's
every
especially
road
true.
course.
That's especially true at all of our road courses. So when it came to a situation like last year at Chicago, and it will be the same situation when we go back there in a few weeks, there will be no room for error at all. So the guys that are precise, the guys that are great road course racers, they will shine. That's why Justin Haley shined last year. AJ had issues last year. That's why he finished. I think he finished like 7th or something like that. But he had a brake pedal issue. So like that kept him from running at his peak performance, right? So whenever we go back there, I don't know if we're running AJ there or not, but I'm pretty sure
Shane's running.
I'm pretty sure Shane's running there. I don't know what the plan is with that, but I'm pretty sure Shane is going to run that race because he's defending race winner, right? So,
he definitely is.
Okay. So they've probably already announced it. I don't remember.
Yeah, they did.
Believe it or not, I don't keep up with everything that we do. So I work there and I don't keep up with all of it. But whenever we go back there, like those guys that are true road course racers that are good at it and precise with it, those guys are going to shine. And I said it right after he won that race, and I wasn't trying to knock Shane at all. That like get him to Watkins Glen, get him to another road course that these guys are familiar with, and they run a lot. He's not going to have the same advantage. He had an advantage there because of his unique background. And what happened whenever he went to where did he go?
Coda.
No, it was last year.
Indianapolis.
It was Indianapolis is where he went. I don't know if he ran the Roval or not, but
no, he just ran Indianapolis.
He finished in the 10s somewhere.
I think 8th or 9th.
Yeah. So he finished top 10s. He ran decent, but he wasn't a match for those guys, right? Because we went to a place that these guys were comfortable, and the rain and all that stuff. Like I said, it was just a perfect storm for him to excel. And like I said, I'm not knocking him at all. I love Shane to death. Like, I mean, I've had the opportunity to talk with him, a few times now, and I love his energy that he brings to the team. And he's a phenomenal road course racer, but he's a phenomenal race car driver, period. And he's going to figure out the whole oval thing. Like he's almost got to figure it out now. This guy's racecraft is incredible. The way he can put together races, finish in the lead lap, and run, with those top cars, these guys that have been doing ovals their entire life. Like he's getting it figured out, and he's going to be dangerous once he does. Whenever he gets that first oval win, he figures it out. Like,
we talk about it We talk
Yeah.
about it every week. I mean, if it
Yeah.
weren't for a couple little things, I
Yeah.
mean, he had we say this all the time. If it wasn't for Talladega, Vegas, and the penalty at Coda, well,
Sure.
we even
Yeah.
include that. He has not
Yeah.
crossed the finish line worse than 20th.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Absolutely
it's
phenomenal.
insane.
His like I said, his racecraft is impeccable, and you can try to teach racecraft to people, but racecraft is something that's very intrinsic to that driver. Like that's
Yeah.
something that you just have to be able to put together a complete race, and that your team has to be there as well. So um,
And it's good to know though, like you going back kind of to Chicago going
mhm,
into this year, it's good to know that like that's something I probably should have been thinking about and didn't think about is how different that is than all the other road courses we run on and
sure,
how that part at least is not going to change for them.
absolutely,
And
yeah,
so those the heel and toe method that he was using and stuff, that's
mhm,
not that's almost I wouldn't say unteachable, but it's that's one of the few things that's going to be hard to duplicate through even
absolutely.
SMT. And
It is, and I don't, I'm not. I probably got myself way too far in the weeds with talking about that and the comparisons between AJ and SVG, because I don't want to do that because
yeah,
they are two
both
incredible
incredible.
drivers
Yeah.
and two, I mean, just my gosh, man, just impeccable road course racers. I mean, um, AJ was winning karts and IRL
Yeah.
races before he got into stock car. And AJ had to adapt to stock cars.
Yeah.
He had to come in here and adapt to this
And
stuff. And his first years at Red Bull were not the greatest. He
I
got
mean
replaced by Mike Skinner,
he got his
for a little bit, so he could learn. But there are some things that guy does still that that blow my mind, and I'm
Mhm.
not knocking him at all. Like I love that guy to death. I love that guy. Um, and like concrete racetracks, that dude
Oh,
is
Dover,
solid.
yeah.
Dover, like my gosh, he's so good at Dover. Like he should have won that race several times
Yeah.
in different cars. Like the 43, like whenever he drove for,
Yeah.
like there's one race he led,
A bunch
God,
of
like
it. Yeah.
150 laps or something like that, and he should have won that race. Um, like I remember the time I met him, like the first time I met him back in '08, he was driving a Red Bull car,
Yeah.
and he was like running eighth or something like that, like running really good at
Did he
Bristol.
not win?
And
Oh no, that was Scout Speed
that's
that or
but
truck
as
race. Yeah.
somebody, I remember watching AJ go into three, and somebody cut down a tire below him and went up and took him out, and he
Yep.
was running super good, at Bristol. And so I mean, he's got the concrete tracks like figured out pretty well. And then we won last year with him at Nashville, which
Yeah.
that meant a crap ton to me because of the history I said earlier about
Yeah,
being
of
at Nashville
course.
Speedway and living right by it. But uh, yeah, I don't want to get too far in the weeds for that.
Yeah.
I don't want to get in trouble or nothing.
Yeah, no, we
But
don't want that. Obviously,
those two drivers, man, like
yeah.
all the drivers we have, like Josh Williams is not a road course racer. He'll tell you that straight up,
Yeah,
and he's
no.
said that many times on the radio in Portland when I was spotting for him a couple of weeks ago. But dude, that guy finished seventh. Like
Yeah.
there's some attrition involved, yeah. But man, that dude, he drove a good race and drove his ass off and got up there into seventh. And dude, hell of a job in Portland. And
Yeah.
then, I mean, my God, the crash that the big one that they had at Sonoma this past weekend, like he was making a move to go top 10.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like he fought his way up into the top 10 there at Sonoma, right? So I mean, he's getting some of that road course love from AJ too.
Yeah.
So and but our cars are good on road courses because AJ. So
Yeah.
that's a big part of
Yeah,
it.
for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. I do want to I want to kind of circle back around to the SMT thing and say at least close that kind
We've
of
been talking for about 2.5 hours.
yeah, I know. It's awesome.
Who's
Um,
gonna watch this crap? My
I
God.
mean, people will. People
Yeah,
will. I promise you.
we'll bust it into two.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Two-parter, I don't know.
But it is like you said, and I share the same sentiment. I'm not too terribly fond of SMT data and being able to look
Mhm,
at it because of that very thing you said, and just it takes the advantage out of some of these guys, and
mhm.
it's just I don't.
It's
where to go with that, but it's just something that I wanted to put that out there that like it's something that I want to paint the picture to some of these people who maybe are coming into NASCAR from New Zealand, Australia, or anybody that
we
stumbles
welcome you.
across this video. Exactly. Stumbles across this video that like it is it is a point that we've come to that almost impossible to put the genie back in the bottle at this
Sure.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Um, well, it's like the mind exercise that a teacher gives you whenever you're in grade school or whatever, where you take a tube of toothpaste and you push all the toothpaste out,
yeah.
and they say now put it all back in. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I figured out a way to do it, but it's involves a syringe and a lot of work, but whatever. I mean, they got it in the tube. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
but they put it in the tube and then sealed it, whatever. But so the thing about the SMT and what it removes is that knowledge being power aspect of what makes you a good race car driver, and your intellectual property removes all that. SMT removes all intellectual property that comes to technique in driving a race car.
Yeah.
That's what you lose. And that's what everybody else gains. Right. So that's my argument as to why I wish that we did not have access to it at the racetrack. Like, I want you to beat me on the racetrack, because you figured out how to beat me at the racetrack
Yeah.
because your team did this. You figured out an adjustment to make your car better. You figured out this to make this better. You got, down that line.
Yeah.
I don't want you to beat me because you copied what I do to win. That's the BS part of it that I don't like.
Yeah.
Is that you what is it? The student has become the teacher thing where you beat me with my own tricks. That's not impressive.
Yeah, no.
At all to me. Like, okay, great, you won the race, but you won the race because you took my technique, because you saw it on a computer screen.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Like, come on, man. Like, that's bullcrap. Like, I want you to beat me because you beat me straight up.
Yeah.
Like that's the one thing I cannot stand. Like, having during the race, like crew chief, engineers, spotters, like I know TJ has it pulled up on his iPad watching SMT.
I think he's looking for the Elon's chip to get it installed in
his wrist. Right. He wants it downloaded directly.
Yeah.
Right? But here's the problem. It's the world we live in.
Yeah.
We have to find out a way to win regardless of who has our information. And that's, again, back to the whole, I wish fans understood. That's one thing. That's another thing I wish fans understood is that, man, no information that you have at a race team is safe, pretty much. Yep. Because with this new car, and it's, buying parts from a supplier and assembling it, according to an instruction book, essentially, there's, unless you're really cheating something and you have the ability to cheat it and pass it off as a legit part or whatever it is, which I know we don't have the opportunity to do that. We don't have the facilities or the infrastructure or the people or the machines.
I defended you guys last year during the whole Louvergate situation.
Oh my God, Louvergate.
God, that's
amazing. Yeah. Oh man, I held those louvers in my hand. I'm like, this is there's no way we did this. Like, there's absolutely no way we did it.
I said no way. I was like, there's
why? Not only that, but why would we? Like, what do we have to gain from that?
What do you have to gain, and why would you only do it to one?
Why? Yeah, why one?
Like, it makes no sense. Anyway,
Chris said this, so I can say it. Who did Hendrick go to get replacement louvers whenever they confiscated them?
Yes,
they got some from us. So it's like, why wouldn't we have just cheated those too?
Exactly.
So, it's a mess. But yeah, my goodness. I don't know
I
where I was going, but
I
I lost
think
track of my
I
thought.
think just SMT did it, in my opinion. It's a detriment to the racing product at some of these places too. I feel like because I think the field being closer together obviously is what makes it hard to pass, and that hurts the product in a way. But and kind of going back to what you said earlier about how people use Daniel Hemrick as an example. People get on him like saying, "Why is he in this car? He's not as good as whoever else." But it's like it it is harder than it's ever been to win in Cup and to be in
Yeah,
Cup than it's
absolutely.
ever been. So yeah, these some a guy might be
Daniel is one of the hardest
inferior.
working people.
Yeah.
He is
Somebody
one of
might
the
be
hardest working people in the Cup Series. I
yeah,
guarantee it.
they might be inferior to Cup Series drivers, and that's not him. That's just somebody,
Sure.
whoever you want to plug in. Some people would
Mhm.
say Kyle Larson sucks. I mean, whatever. But
Yeah. Who would
it
say
is
that?
still they are still probably top, 1% of race car drivers in the entire world.
Yeah,
And that's something
absolutely.
we can't lose sight of.
No, no, for sure. And I come from East Tennessee dirt world, right? So and I mean I see it on Facebook all the time. People from my hometown saying like, "Oh, these drivers, this ain't real racing," asphalt's for getting there, dirt's for racing. It's like, come on, having that argument like
I've never heard that.
NASCAR
That's
drivers,
funny as heck.
Yeah, 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 dirt's for racing, asphalt's for getting there.
Yeah.
And they talking down about NASCAR drivers and this and that. It's like, man, like y'all don't have a clue. Like you
Yeah.
have no stinking clue. And I see that every time I go and I look at somebody's dirt car. And this is nothing against people that dirt race or anything
Yeah.
like that. I will always be an East Tennessee dirt late model kid. I will always be that guy. But going from just take a fully assembled average dirt late model that you see on a weekend
Mhm.
and go look at a fully assembled cup car that you will see on a weekend. The actual real race car. I'm not talking some show car that I built.
Mhm.
I'm talking like go and look at that real race car
Yeah.
and then go look at this real race car that this Saturday night racer. Yeah, there's money involved. Yeah, but the attention to detail that goes into building these cars. I mean, and people, somebody fails inspection because um their truck arm length was 15 thousandths out or something like that.
Mhm.
And people are like, them cheating SOBs, blah, 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 ripping them apart online. It's like, do you know how much 15 thousandths is? Like, I mean, granted,
Yeah.
there's a tolerance and they went over at 15 thousandths, but still, do you know how much 15 thousandths is? Do you know how
It's
much that is?
unfathomable. No, no. I'm not even gonna
15
try.
thousandths. I'm going to tell you right now, 15 thousandths, okay, is smaller than if you stacked 5 of your hairs on top of each other and were able to measure it. The average human hair is between 3 and 4 thousandths thick. Okay, so 15 thousandths, that is 5 human hairs stacked up on top of each other. That's how far out of tolerance we're talking sometimes when people fail inspection.
Yeah.
And people are like, "Oh, this cheating, these guys are a bunch of cheaters." No, it's just that's how tight of a window that
Yeah.
we're
And
that's how tight we're talking. Like,
and when all the cars are coming from the same people and built,
sure,
basically Lego pieces put together, you have 1,000 different pieces that you have to put together. And then also not only have to put together, but you have to figure out how to make them better than somebody else.
absolutely.
Like,
Yeah. So, but again, that attention to detail is something that you just can't teach people
yeah,
at that level. And I'm not looking down on anybody dirt
yeah,
wise. I will always be that kid. The East Tennessee dirt kid, like I said, I will always be that guy. But you don't know what you don't know.
yeah,
And you don't know that until you see what NASCAR cars are like.
yeah,
Just the attention to detail that goes into this stuff and how tight things are. And I'm not saying tight as in bolts. I'm talking as in it's tight. Like
yeah,
it looks immaculate. All of this stuff, like the details that go into it. Like, how many dirt cars you go up and see, or even, your local asphalt short track, doesn't matter. How many of
yeah.
these cars you walk by and there's paint scuffed off
Yeah.
on this right
I
here
mean,
because, oh, it's It's
we
good enough for punk rock,
we
it's
cover some Cars Tour races. We have a show
sure.
called On Tour that we talk solely about the Cars Tour and late model stock racing. And you
Yeah,
go there and you see a guy like Landon Huffman. He has a YouTube
sure.
channel. He shows how he just pounds out
Great,
the yeah,
great cars, great
yeah,
driver. Yeah.
just how he literally this piece of bodywork that he
Oh,
wrecked the other week.
I've seen his YouTubes.
Yeah,
They're
he's
amazing.
got
Yeah,
a but to explain it to everybody else, it's like you're not doing that at Kaulig Racing. Like you're I mean, it is the Cup Series, at least right now, has the most talented people from drivers,
absolutely.
mechanics, crew
Yeah,
chiefs to Jeremy Taylor. Like it
sure.
is, I mean, no, it is the
There's a
most
lot better
talented.
people than me, but yeah.
Don't tell him that.
Well, hey, no, listen,
No,
we'll take that for an example.
yeah,
I know now what I've learned in NASCAR racing and how much better it's made me as a fabricator. I know that if I went home and just started doing random like bodies on dirt late model cars, like they would be super super nice.
yeah,
Like, and I made nice bodies back then. Like I'm not even gonna tell you like who wanted to hire me to do his bodies on his cars. And it's one of the best dirt late models in the country, late model drivers in the country. I won't tell that story, but the guy straight up asked me, he's like, "Man, you should come and do my bodies." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm kind of working at Guitar Center right now, but thank you." And I should have done it, knowing now, but I know that if I went back there and started doing that again, that the stuff I make would be the best looking stuff around because of that attention to detail that you can't get anywhere else other than top level racing. And let's face it, NASCAR is the top level, top tier motorsports in the country
yeah,
and most of the world. Formula One, insane, but those are $15 million fighter jets on wheels, and whatever.
yeah,
That's more about team and manufacturer than it is
yeah,
driver anymore.
exactly.
And Red Bull's on top, and they're going to be for at least another couple years till their new car comes out in what 26, I think.
Yeah,
So the is like I said, as far as this country goes, like NASCAR Cup Series is the top money winning, the top viewership, the top everything when it comes to racing in this country. And you don't get that way without all of those little details and all those
yeah,
little things I was talking about. Like man, there are no words that can convey that to the average mind to where they can even fathom it. Like
yeah,
you would have to know who your audience is and who you're trying to convince and how you can explain it to them and associate it in such a way that where they can get what you're trying to tell them. But man, it's um, like I said, seeing people back home talking about dirt cars and this and that, and then seeing these cars and just how immaculate they all are. And this is no knock against, anything we do because we put together the nicest cars we can,
yeah,
but like going and seeing, like a Hendrick car or something like that, and those cars and how tight they are, like
yeah,
just man, like that's a really nice race car. And they're getting the same parts and pieces that everybody else is getting. You know what I mean? They're getting them all from the same suppliers we are. They have the same parts suppliers that we do, like SRI products in Mooresville, like we all get, the
yeah.
same little, nuts and bolts and all the things from the same people, right? So but they with the people that they have, they just put together a nicer, better car. And it's yeah, people
It's
are what makes the difference,
and it
not
kind of
Houston.
tie it to kind of close everything out. It kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier with you just making it into the sport. And it's all about
Mm,
perspective as far as like what you
absolutely.
can and
Yeah.
can't do. And it should add perspective. Hopefully, if anybody takes anything away from this, it's perspective of one, how hard it is in the Cup Series right now. And, we get on the show and, cry and moan about, the either the racing product, the short track package, or, this, that, and the third. But it it puts into perspective how difficult this is. And at least for me, gives me more of an appreciation for how tough it is to go out and win a race, or
Mhm.
how tough it is to even get to the track. You know,
Sure.
yeah,
Even getting to the track is tough, man. Like there's
yeah,
so much logistics that goes into this stuff. I mean, the people, I mean, we have a lady, um, uh, Rick Corelli's wife. I'm not going to say her name because I don't want, people to start hitting
yeah,
her up. But Rick Corelli is a spotter, he's a former driver.
yeah.
Um, Great driver. She does all of our logistics for hotels and flights and rental cars and all this stuff, and it's her full-time job. That's what she does, and
Yeah.
and she does a phenomenal job doing it. And we can't get to the racetrack without her getting us there.
Yeah.
So I mean, every person on the team has to do their job, and like whenever AJ says all the hardworking men and women at Kaulig, like
Yeah, it's
every single one
everybody.
of us are because we are a small team still. We have a lot of teams and we are still a small team. Like I said, we're the biggest small team out there. You know, it takes every single one of us pulling that rope. You know what I mean? And it's funny, Chris used this analogy in a meeting we had not long ago, and I said this to Daniel Hemrick 2.5 years ago. Whenever I met him and talked to him, is that it's a hell of a lot easier to pull a rope than it is to push a rope. So you just got to make sure that all your people are pulling in the same direction. That's it.
That's
And it takes every single person. And like yesterday morning, car chief on the 97 Xfinity car came in and fist bumped twice. It's like, all right, 2 wins. All right. He's like,
right.
good job. And I'm like, what do I do? I'm like, I was there, in Portland, but I wasn't there in Sonoma. It's like, what did I do? He's like, takes everybody.
Yeah,
And Luke Lambert was the guy that actually taught me that at when I was at Roush. He was the crew chief on the 17
yeah,
for Chris Busher. And I remember saying, hey man, good run this weekend. He's like, you too. And I'm like, what the hell did I do? But
yeah.
it makes you think about that perspective that it does take everybody. Like, whenever
The,
you saw me losing my absolute mind at the Roval last year, whenever we won
yeah,
that race, and I was, down there at the fence and hugging it out with AJ, and then going through the fence and going to victory lane after that, you know, um, Trent Owens is a crew chief on the 31. He was like, hey, good job, fist bump, whatever. And I'm like, what did I do? It's hard for me to see that. He's like,
yeah.
dude, he's like, you built all those carts that are in the cup shop that hold all of our body panels every week
Yeah.
whenever we tear down these cars. And then he's like, you built all those carts that hold the transaxles, whatever. It's like, that's what you
It's a
do. Like,
butterfly effect. If you weren't there, who knows
exactly.
what could have what happened?
Exactly. And
Somebody else
so,
builds a cart, those transactions fall down, break, and then
yeah,
you go
exactly.
like something as dumb as small as
It,
that. Yeah,
it takes
it's a
everybody
good
to
thing.
get you to the racetrack. We'll cut short here, but I'll tell you one
Yeah,
one story
for
real
sure.
quick. As good as my memory is, I cannot remember this guy's name, but he told me, to me at the time, was the best story of perspective I've ever heard in my life. I worked with this guy at Lowe's while I was doing all this part-time racing stuff on the weekends, volunteering, whatever. And we were sitting there, and he's like, "I'll tell you about perspective." I'm like, "All right, I'm a roast, base me, hit me." And he said, he's like, "I used to drive a truck, and truck was right next to the trucking terminal was right next to an airport. So we'd sit there and watch these planes taking off all day. These pilots are over there hanging out, cocky, just like, yeah, we fly, we leave the bounds of the earth, and we fly and soar. And they always thought it was the coolest thing because they're these long haul truck drivers and
Yeah,
deliveries and this and that. And they're like, it's like, man, that's really cool. And so then one day he got this job where he needed to ship 3 trailers across the country. And he's like, I can only pull one. So how am I going to get the other 3?
yeah,
And he's got to ship them all at the same time. So he's sitting there and thought about it. He's like, I've got an idea. So he goes and he has a trailer backed up to a ramp, right? And he goes and he backs another trailer onto that ramp. And he's got 2 stacked up now. He's like, all right, heck yeah, we're
yeah,
good. This one strapped down, whatever. Let me pull these 2 trailers away. So he goes and backs up the 3rd trailer right there. Got it ready to go, and goes and backs these other 2 trailers on top of that. He's like, ha ha ha, I can ship 3 trailers now. About the time he started strapping down those 2 trailers to the top of the 3rd trailer, he looks over towards the airport, and all the pilots are standing there just watching him, just staring, amazed, like,
Yeah.
never would have thought of that. Like, that's incredible. And he's like, that's perspective. He's like,
Yeah.
that is perspective. It's like to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes and realize that what you're doing is a mystery to someone else. Like that's the true nature of perspective. I'm like, man, that's really, really interesting. So like, yeah, there you go. It's a dumb little story
No,
of
that's awesome.
perspective. But
That's
it makes so much sense
it
whenever you
does.
think about it, is like I said earlier, to you, you're looking at a 6, but to me, I'm looking at a 9, even though
Yeah.
we're sitting at the same table.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
it's being able to see something from somebody else's shoes is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. But if you can teach yourself how to do that, like you'll be a more compassionate individual. You'll be a more learned individual. There's a lot of things that really unlock in your brain if you can gain perspective through whatever it is you're doing. Because we're all have a unique life. We may have similar experiences at some times, but we all have a very unique life that we're living, and it makes the whole human race better if you can understand and empathize with someone else's situation or their perspective. So there's that.
That's you know, I got way more out of this, and everybody that's watching this better get way more out of this than I ever thought I would. Like, I did not think coming into this, I thought we were going to talk some racing and
Yeah.
the nuts and bolts of
We'll
everything.
actually have to
And
talk
here,
about racing sometime.
yeah, but we did though, and that's
Yeah, we did a little bit.
but
Yeah,
we
yeah.
had
I hope I don't get in trouble for any of the things I said. So Chris, Justin, anybody watching right now, like,
yeah,
I love
it
my
was
team. I
all
love
it's
what I
all
do.
on me.
So like, don't
It's
don't
all
hate
on
me.
this dude. It's Buddy Pulley. He shipped this whole thing. I coerced him. He's actually tied to that chair.
Yeah, yeah.
But
That's why I've
no,
been
I mean,
fidgeting. I'm like, I'm trying to get loose.
yeah,
My hands have been in my pockets this whole time, pretty much,
yeah. But
until I start talking with my hands. But yeah,
yeah, I mean, thank you so much for this because it really
absolutely.
was so much more than I could have ever
You're
imagined.
my buddy, buddy.
Hey,
Come on.
hey, man, I'm everybody's buddy. But
You are
yeah,
technically. I mean, talk
yep,
about perspective. I guess you are. Yeah.
there we go.
Tell your mom I said hi, by the way. That's
We'll
going to sound
do.
to anybody that doesn't know that I know your mom, but like tell her I said hi, and I hate that I didn't see her. Where were we? At Charlotte. Yeah, I didn't see her
Yeah.
at Charlotte whenever we were there. So yeah, tell her I said hi.
I will definitely let her know.
Yeah.
Well,
Good luck.
everybody out there, thank you guys so much for watching this, and
Hey, thanks for having
man,
me, man. It was a good time.
absolutely, man, and we'll
3
definitely
hours, but it's all right. I don't know who's going to watch this for 3 hours, but more power to him, dude.
look. It's gonna be it will be their loss,
Yeah.
100%. This is unbelievable. But
I don't know.
hey,
They're going to hear me rambling in the first 20 minutes, for 20 minutes, and they'll be like, "What is this guy doing?" And then click, they just close it.
I will sell my I will do my best marketing work. But yeah.
Well, not too good. I don't know how many people I want to see it, but
Oh
yeah.
yeah. We'll see. But make
The,
sure you
the New
guys
Zealand crowd will let SVG know that some guy from his team was rambling on a podcast. Next thing you know, Chris is watching it, and next thing you know, like I'm done for, and yeah. But if they
if
sit here
the
and watch the whole 3
look,
hours, it was fine.
if this podcast somehow, some way gets you fired, we will figure out a place for you. I don't know what the hell. We'll have
Nah,
you.
I'll just go back to East Tennessee and start doing dirt late model bodies. Apparently,
Oh, there you go.
I'm
Yeah.
just so good at it,
Yeah. But let me everybody please subscribe and
Yeah, smash that like button,
smash that
subscribe.
like
And, yeah,
see, you can do this. Yeah.
yeah, I got this, dude. Yeah.
Make sure, and we're gonna do this again. Like this
And
is
then,
the first
oh,
of
and then go, people that are watching and listening, get on Apple Podcasts and look up In the Garage with Jeremy
yes.
Taylor. That was my podcast that I used to do on NASCAR.com and Speedsport.com. So it's several years old now. Like I think I did the last one maybe 3 years ago, but they're still out there, and there's a lot of really good
There's
information,
good
a lot of good
information on there.
interviews and stuff that I
Yes.
did with people on there. So go do that as well.
And I'll leave a link to it down in the description
Yeah,
below.
yeah, yeah. I think I sent it to you. Yeah. So
Yeah, for sure. But
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, dude, I know how to do this stuff. It's easy.
we will have you back on sometime to actually
Absolutely. As long as I don't
to
lose my job after this one, yeah, we'll come back soon.
for
And we'll
sure.
actually talk about racing things this time.
Yeah. Yes. I mean,
Like how I
we don't
became a
have to.
spotter.
Yeah. Yeah.
How I became a spotter the first time in an actual race, because that's a funny story. And how I continued spotting after that. Like that's a funny story. Uh
But
looking like a complete idiot. So yeah. Anyways.
everybody, like I just said, subscribe, like for more. We're gonna do this more, and hopefully you guys enjoy.